Welcome back to One Winning Pod, where the Ravens were triumphant in their Purple Rising debut over the Bengals. It was a thriller down to the wire. Looked like it might have been, beneath expectations of the public going into halftime, but the second half was all gas, no brakes, and a thrilling finish. So, I think we had a lot of fun all together. It's always good to have the whole pod at the game, and just happy to get that dub. Very, very fun game.
It was an absolute thriller, like you're saying. From a pure excitement standpoint, possibly the most exciting game I've been to at the bank. I mean, there were so many big plays from both sides, unfortunately, and we'll get to that. But man, it's just a continual reminder that this offense is something special. It's possibly and maybe almost definitely the best offense that we've ever seen in Baltimore. I mean, as good as 2019 was, we know that passing game was, a little bit not as multifaceted as you would like it. And that's definitely not the case now. You've got way more weapons in the receiving game than you had back then. And this offense, there was always the question 2019, can they come back when they're down? They've proven time and time again that, down multiple scores, down 2 touchdowns in this game, that's they still have the firepower. They still have enough plays in the playbook to be able to do that. So, I think some improvement from the defensive end. The problem is that improvement highly overshadowed by some huge plays that you got to give the Bengals credit for, but at the same time, still shouldn't have been as easy as they were, right? So, overall, man, sweep the Bengals this year. Granted, both games were razor close, but that sweep is still a sweep.
Yeah, I definitely agreed on the razor thin margins these games, man. I mean, like you flop these 2 wins to losses, and then all of a sudden, like the Ravens are looking close to the bottom. Not at the bottom. The Browns are right there, solidly at the bottom. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely looking at a very different standings in the division if we had these 2 coin flips go the other way. So, yeah, man, that's how close it was. But yeah, I'll just say exciting game. And agreed, with what you're saying, Peter, about the offense. Like, it's one of those things, man. We finally been waiting for this offense to, be able to like execute these quick, 2-minute drives or 4-minute drives and just like score almost, at will. And it's quite something. Just looking at it right now, like, you look at the Ravens, number 1 in points for in the entire league, not just AFC, but AFC and NFC. That's awesome. I'd have to look that up. I have no idea when the last time the Ravens have been there, aside from like week 1 or something. That's pretty incredible.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, might have been 2019, but like Peter was saying, I think I take this offense every day of the week over 2019. And for multiple reasons. I think A, there's just more weapons. B, Lamar's a much more mature Lamar. His ability at the pre-snap is at a next level. And also the coordinator, let the coordinator cook. So I think it's like, even if there are less points per drive, which is like kind of the chief metric of offensive efficiency, I like how we have multiple ways to win. And also, like, what is points per drive when you're winning by, all these points half the time? I guess I know both offenses had that same problem, but I just feel like it's not the perfect stat. Sometimes the eyes are good. And I guess before we get into offense or defense, we do need to talk about the new helmets, the new jersey, the new look, and also the new investment, so to speak, at the bank. My comment was liked by the Baltimore Ravens, felt great on LinkedIn of all places, because they were touting their use of the Pix Mob, whatever technology, that they had on the banisters, and all the lights they installed on the banisters are apparently the first NFL team to do so. And then also they installed like LED lights around the stadium that they use during the anthem and things of that nature, to add more color to the night stuff. And it is nice to think like how nice of a show they put on for the night games. I now have a reference point of 2 stadiums, and like I will say that the Ravens put more effort into their night games than I've seen out of any stadium in any context. It's just like it's really cool. Like I will fully like I don't even think you have to be drinking like the purple Kool-Aid, so to speak. This to just think that they're like next level with the offerings and like what they're trying to do for game day experiences and things of that nature. So very impressive lights and the helmet. I dig it. It was a cool look.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that. I mean, obviously, last year they started with the bands, and even the game against Buffalo, they still did the bands. There was the bands this night too, but yeah, I think putting it on the railings definitely added more of that light element to the whole light show. It looked really nice. It was really well done. Really makes you wish that every game was a night game for NFL because, and especially I think the Ravens too, like also just the graphics, which the graphics team do such a great job with that. And I remember when Chris and I were at the preseason game, we had some Eagles fans behind us and they were really geeking out over the graphics. They're like, man, we don't have anything like this in Philadelphia. Our team needs to step it up. But, those graphics just popped so much more in the night games, right? Because it's all this dark purples and blacks and, Night of Terror, Edgar Allan Poe theme. So it's just such a better, experience with that. And that's not saying anything, against the Ravens staff that's putting that together. It's just a matter of fact of just, I think sports are meant for the night, and we're just forever. Football has been 1 p.m. kickoff. So, that's just what we're at. But anyways, yeah, it was really cool. And I have to deliver a huge on-air apology, man, because I did not like the helmets when they were revealed. I thought they looked dumb. I was just like, this is a shoulder patch. Why is a shoulder patch on a helmet? And I still kind of feel that way. But, man, actually in the game environment, seeing them pop in real life as well as, on high res, and watching the film later, I think they look spectacular. Now, I still like the regular helmet better. I'm not advocating for a helmet replacement, but I think as a one-off, one game a year, break out these helmets, I think it's fabulous. Now, I do know that not everyone in the fan base was won over like I was. But, man, 2 thumbs up. They looked spectacular on Thursday night, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought they were cool. I agree. I thought I feel like I didn't really like the helmets going into it. But I did find the gold stripes on the top. I think I kind of like those. I just like the look of them. And while there's not any black, or at least not a ton of black on the uniform, like I feel like the amount of gold on there was kind of tasteful. But again, like it kind of has to be a one-off, right? Because like the black is so integral to who the Ravens are. Like you can't get rid of it entirely. But yeah, for like, these one-off primetime games, like, yeah, sure, why not? The only thing I didn't like, I feel like Marlo was wearing the gold sleeves, and I was like, that's a little too close to old pants.
Yeah, it's a little it was mustardy. Mustard sleeve. Call it what they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just looked like a hot dog with mustard on it only.
pretty much.
Oh,
pretty
man.
much.
Too funny. Well, enough about the helmets. I guess let's talk about the offense because like they saved the day again. I saw a meme today someone sent to me of Lamar. Well, it was actually Biden in this video of the meme, but like looking back and like smirking when it was Lamar when they were down 21-7. Looking at the Bengals like, oh, you think? And I mean, this is just the second time where Lamar was down by 2 scores against this team and found a way to bring us back and win. I mean, just an absolutely phenomenal performance. Just keep stacking these games. I heard Ken McCusick say in his offensive recap show that like him and Tom Brady are tied for the best quarterback rating over like an 8-game sample. And that was back in the 2007 season for him. So I mean, it's just a historic run that he's on and the whole offense.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's incredible what the Ravens have in Lamar Jackson. I mean, we're incredibly lucky, the entire league, including the Ravens. He wasn't their first pick that draft. Just completely overlooked this guy's potential, this guy's talent. I mean, he is a top 10 star, probably top 5 star in this league. And it's not just on the ground anymore. I mean, he is legitimately one of the better passing quarterbacks in the NFL now. There's a lot of throws that he can make that he couldn't when he first came in here. And there's not many throws that he can't make. And I think that was something that was definitely on display in this game. And it's incredible that he continues to make plays that just only he can make. I mean, again, you're talking about when they were down 21-7. What happened? Marlowe got that, punched the ball out, got the fumble. And then, with about just over 5 minutes in the third quarter, Lamar does it again. He's getting pressured. He's backing up. He's able to escape what, seems like a certain sack or a situation where he's going to have to throw the ball away, and just finds space that he created space. There was not space that existed there along the sideline for him to tip there and to just weave his way through a couple of defenders. You got blocks from Linderbaum, you got blocks from Justice Hill, and I think he got in. Derrick Henry got another touchdown. That's great for him. Derrick Henry's having a historic season. We'll give him another one. But watching that play live, I thought he was for sure sacked, because I guess I forgot that he's Lamar Jackson. I guess, the stress of the game made me forget that this man is Houdini, as was said in that one broadcast back in 2019 against these Bengals. And there's nothing this man can't get out of. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a great thing to have. Just looking, you've got a little bit of everything, right? You've got the efficiency, 25 for 33. You've got the yards, 290, just short of 300. You got 4 touchdowns. And even like the rushing yards, it was pretty pedestrian as far as, Lamar's games go. But I mean, you add it all up and it's just, it's incredible to see the efficiency and just the production right now. Like we're getting all of it. And it's just great. Yeah, and I mean, even if you take out a couple of those plays, like if you took out like the Wallace play, for example, like the yards come down a little bit, but still you still have the pass to Andrews, which is a great great corner route in the end zone. If you got a bunch of other big plays as well. And it was great too. This is kind of a quiet game, I think, from Flowers, but you saw some other guys step up. You have Andrews and Bateman got a lot of targets as well, and continuing to get some of the other guys involved as well, in addition to Henry. So yeah, man, it's great. Love what we're seeing so far. It's just you just need the defense to just like get just a little bit better, and then taking off.
That's really the question. Is like, if this defense can get halfway better, I think we're all feeling a little way better about our chances in the playoffs. We're not asking for much. We know you can do it. You got the horses. But yeah, I will say, Likely was out this game. Mark Andrews was able to step in and be the Mark Andrews of old, so to speak. 7 targets, 6 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. And like we've been alluding to, the improvisation that was on that play where he was supposed to just do a crossing route with Bateman and then decided to kind of lift up and go straight to the end zone. The fact that Lamar claims that he saw that coming and had the mind meld and delivered the ball there is pretty cool. And then Bateman, Peter was saying, that perfect ball, like a jump shot, it looked like, and just the way that Lamar baited 22, aka Geno Stone, rather. There we go. Geno Stone into like a no-win situation where you chase after Lamar and you know what happens, and you back up and you know what happens with Lamar. So holds him up, throws that ball. And I also love the fact that he went back to Bateman. Bateman dropped the touchdown just the play before, and then he went back to him, had that trust. So huge play for the two of them. Again, like continuing that trust with Bateman is imperative, I think, towards what we're hoping for out of this team. And I just don't know how Lamar does it sometimes. Like I watch the same play as you, Peter. He's going to that sideline, and I'm thinking to myself, he's going to have to throw it away. I'm hoping that he throws it away. I don't want him to lose yards like he did earlier in the game. And then he starts doing other things, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And just like the patience to have his blockers, make the next block and move up the field. And also like kudos to the rest of the offense, right? To have the wherewithal that this guy's still playing. That was like a 30-second play. you know. And Mark Andrews even made a note of that. It's like, I can't believe that play was still going on. And then I'm blocking. You know, it's just it was a crazy play. So this whole team has been built in his image, so to speak. You know, everything's been built. I think the reason this team enthusiastically blocks like they do is because they know Lamar might be running after him, and they want to make sure they can spring him. You know, every wide receiver knows how to block on this team, and is, I feel like, enthusiastic about it. So, yeah, it's very, very special.
It's just such a team dynamic, man. It's a buy-in, and you know, I think that what you just love is seeing these guys block for Lamar and just really rise to the occasion when their number's called. You know, there's certain games where some guys' numbers are getting called and others where they're not. I think it's great to bring up Mark Andrews. He's finally, you know, I think we can finally say at this point, he's fully healthy and he's back in this offense. Bateman, man, Lamar's got trust in him, you know, that pass that he missed, it just, you know, kind of had the flashes of Kansas City week 1 all over again, right? Very similar play. And then, yeah, for him to just go right back there and that, just that layup drop in pass, man, the confidence there, just, that was such a great play. All-time great play for Lamar there. But yeah, and I mean, I think we also got to talk about Tylan Wallace, who, you know, I'm really thinking this guy might be morphing into, you know, we've had these guys in Ravens history, Jermaine Lewis, Brandon Stokely, Jacoby Jones come to mind, you know, who they're not getting the ball much. Generally, they're more special teams guy. I guess Stokely was never a special teams guy, but Lewis and Jacoby certainly. But I mean, you can think of plays all three of those guys made. Like when they got the ball, you know, it wasn't often, but those are memorable plays, right? And they were always an option for the offense to turn to if nothing else was working, right? And they'll get their opportunities. And you know, Wallace had the big punt return, obviously, to win the game against the Rams. He had this huge play here. He's had a couple big catches. You know, had a catch setting up the Andrews touchdown on that drive in this game, and had some catches near the end of the Cincinnati game last time out. You know, it's been a long time coming for him, but you know, he's starting to get some opportunities here.
It's crazy too, because you don't, you know, at least I don't think of him as a guy who's like a pure speed guy. You know, I can't remember what his 40 time was. I don't want to say like 4.5 or something, but Tylan, if I'm wrong, like please don't come after me. I just don't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, I mean, he's not like, I don't think I've known him as like a burner. Like I feel like one of the early plays he made was at, I guess 21, I guess was his rookie year. He had that like long 3rd and like 16 or something completion. I think it was against the Commanders or something at the time. But anyway, it wasn't anything special like going over the top or anything. It was him just kind of like catching an underneath pass, getting the yards, getting the first down kind of thing. And so I feel like that's kind of indicative of kind of, I guess, how I've kind of looked at him is he seemed like a guy maybe a little bit slower, but a guy who could make guys miss and like basically make the big play. And that was a big play in that game. But you're absolutely right. Like, yeah, I mean, the punt return against the Rams last year, this touchdown in this game, it just has a knack for it, man. And be able to like put the stiff arms and, you know, get the guys off of him and just stay in bounds and make a huge play. So he didn't have to run by people necessarily, but just, you know, doing a lot of the little things really right. And yeah, it's showing off. I love what I'm seeing from him. I'm glad that he still has a role in this team. Hope to see a couple more of those plays from him also.
Yeah. I don't think Tylen's going to come after you for the 0.01 second that he shaved in his 40 time. Although he did allegedly run a 4.39 at his pro day. Very important.
Oh, okay.
Very important. Gotta love pro day timing. Never ever cook, you know, never home cooking there. But no, I mean, you're right. He's not a burner, but he clearly has good, you know, balance, good situational awareness. On the sideline like that, and it's something about that jersey too. I love how they said that too. They're like, you know, last time he made that play, it was in the same jersey. He was like involved in the Purple Rising helmet debut because of his heroics in said jersey, and then he does it again. So if Tylan Wallace's agent had anything to do with it, we'd be wearing these jerseys every week.
Man. Yeah, but I mean, as good as the offense was, the defense, it's a bit of a different story, right? I think that there's definitely some things you look at here, and it's really not all bad from the defense. There's some things I think they did well in this game. You look at the pass rush story. I mean, the Ravens' offensive line did a great job here in this game from a pass protection standpoint. Only one quarterback hit surrendered, no sacks given up there. The Ravens had 13 quarterback hits, including a hat trick here from Justin Madubuike for 3 sacks. And Burrow was under duress for a lot of the night. Certainly there were some times where he got a chance in the pocket to make a throw. But, while the pass rush was good and the rush defense was what we've been seeing all year, Jamar Chase, man, what was that meme? I forget who shared it in our chat. It's the Facebook, flag, mark safe from insert natural disaster here. It was mark safe from Jamar Chase. Like, man, he was probably still catching touchdown passes after the game was over. Like, he could not be stopped at all in the game last night, whether it was those long burners or the short underneath stuff.
Yeah, he's a baller, man. It really, really sucks. I always think back to the game in 21 where he absolutely torched us as a rookie, and just can't figure him out. He's the new AJ Green. He's the new Ochocinco. Like, just sucks.
He's
sucks
like both of them combined. I mean, this guy's
he is.
He's he's a Hall of Famer, right? There's other guys like I think they're the Hall of very good. I don't know if they're Hall of Famers. I don't think they are, but yeah, like it's nuts. I mean, I don't know, but honestly, like the rest of the offense like didn't stop us. And my thought is like, surely we can figure out a way to like make the rest of the offense stop us, like I don't know why it had to be Devontae Adams versus Aaron Rodgers in what year is that? 2020, 2021,
21. Yeah.
Yeah. So in 21 that like we had to like do the crazy double stacking thing. Like we see this guy twice a year, do something, like do some double teaming, do something like that. It should never happen is my opinion. But I was, I guess, happy to see that the rest of the offense was like incredibly inefficient and incredibly, not getting it done, so to speak. It was really just the Chase show.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I mean, you look at the target share too. Like, I mean, Chase is, just ridiculous. I mean, Burrow threw 34 of 56, like 56 attempts in a game. Like, I get that the Ravens pass defense is ridiculously bad. Like, don't get me wrong. We'll continue to talk about how bad it is. 56 attempts is a lot of attempts for a quarterback. Like, you go north of 50, like that's not really like a winning football script. Like, I mean, you win a couple games obviously, but like long term, like, I mean, you don't want Burrow to be throwing that much. But you look at the target share too. Like Chase had like 17 targets. Like, I mean, that's half the his number of targets is like half the number of completions that Burrow threw. Like, it's just ridiculous amount of target share from that. But you also look at the yards and you're like, yeah, like 2 complete burners where you just run by guys probably accounted for over half the yards there too. So, yeah, man, it was both volume, but also you gotta include those other big plays too. They're honestly just like terrible. Harbs talked about it too, and it's just like we literally can't have that. Like,
yeah, JJ Zachariason had a tweet in his data dump from the week that like of the top 5 wide receiver performances, Chase has 3 of them in the last, I don't know, N years. So he's known for these blow up games. He's known for running away from the defense, and he's really known about doing it against us. I'm sure he licks his chops every time he gets to play Baltimore for whatever reason. But yeah, I don't know. Like we got to see it fixed. We got to see this attention to detail, because right now the defense is such a pass funnel. I can't even like evaluate the run defense. I think the run defense is good. Don't get me wrong, but like no one actually runs in enough mass to really be able to tell. It's just no one even tries, and I wouldn't either. Similar to how these defenses are trying to pick their poison against the offense and failing, I think I would pick my poison, and it'd be like, well, running backs. I hope you like catching the ball because that's all we're doing this game. Like I mean, it's just so bad.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that needs to be cleaned up. I think what you look at this team, and I mean, we've wanted an offense like this for forever. The Ravens, we know that have had an offense year in, year out, where except for some for some outliers, it has pretty much been an offense that if the defense has an off game, it's it. You're very likely not going to make it back. But this offense is able to. So that part's playoff ready. That part is ready for anyone that the Ravens have to face. They've passed some tough tests already. Denver, very strong defense. We just saw what they did to Kansas City this past weekend. They're not. We didn't expose them. That's still a very strong unit. Not great, but still a decent enough game against Cleveland. You're facing a defense for the second time during a year, and you get 35 points. That's a pretty huge accomplishment as well. So we got a playoff-ready offense, and the defense, making strides, but still needs to be happened because, in the playoffs, you're going to face Amari Cooper on the Bills. You might face Jamar Chase again. We could have that. We could, a third time going against this guy. You got Hopkins and Kelsey with KC. I mean, at some point, this group is going to have to figure out how to lock down those guys. And, that in and of itself might decide what the ultimate ceiling is of this team for this year.
Yeah. Well, I want to mention a couple of things, like at least that I feel like I saw during the game that I thought maybe some good pieces, at least in terms of the secondary. Obviously, Kyle Hamilton, you got to talk about him, just continue to play really well. It might have, we might have dodged a bullet a little bit in terms of his, injury report. Harbs didn't say anything for sure, obviously, as he does. But it sounded like, we'll probably learn more on Wednesday. But, I feel like at this point we could probably rule out anything like, Achilles or, something more serious like that. But, I feel like in his absence, we saw Marlowe take some of his snaps over on that side. So they kind of moved him from outside corner inside a little bit. And, Marlowe, I feel like he plays very similar, right? I mean, he's just a guy that he can play inside, he can play outside. He's very physical, very really good tackler. And, you saw him with the forced fumble, early in the game, right? He's able to make those plays. So I feel like that's something that we could lean on even in the short term. If Hamilton is not healthy for a couple weeks, we could put Marlowe there. But in terms of the outside, we really need somebody to play across from Wiggins right now. Stevens, I definitely think, is struggling. We kind of talked about it last week. I still feel like he's kind of struggling a little bit. I'm kind of excited for if Tre'Davious White has anything left in the tank. Again, we talked about it a little bit, I think, last week with him. Had a little bit of injuries over the last couple of years, but I mean, you also look at him, very top pick, clearly has the skill set to do it as long as he's healthy. I feel like that's probably something that, a guy that you can add in that rotation that'll really start to, help at least the corner play. Safety, I have no idea. I'm curious if you guys have anything at this point, but I feel like a lot of people I know were kind of, upset at Marcus for, some of those plays of just kind of getting lost back there and letting up some of the chase things. I don't have a solution for that, but at least for corner, I feel like we've got pieces, we're getting close.
Yeah. I don't think it's a corner problem, as much, right? It does feel like more of a safety problem. It feels like a handoff with the linebackers problem over the middle of the field. I know Stevens has been struggling. I know that he, just clearly doesn't have the best ball skills, and the over shoulder passes are getting him, and the book's out. Everyone knows it. But I just don't know if you can expect much higher level play. Frankly, I don't know if Stevens is really our problem. Is kind of what I'm getting at. He is the corner people will target the most, and he is a problem. But I don't know if his level play is really the the huge gotcha. The notion of him playing safety was dismissed very powerfully by Harbaugh, which I love the joke in the chat. Is like, oh, he dismissed it so strongly, then therefore expect him to be playing safety. It could be a Harbaughism, but I'm going to guess that it's probably not. I do think that if Hamilton is healthy and if Mollett is playing at a level that you feel comfortable with, the question must come into play of when does Wiggins supplant Stevens in the rotation? I think frankly, if you're doing any look that includes 2 to 3 corners, that doesn't like I would heavily consider it at this point. I think you can have Wiggins replace Stevens, frankly, in some packages. I think it's worth the exploration if Mollett's playing at a high level of quality, or if Hamilton's available to play in the slot. Yeah, and I have no answers at safety. They asked about White playing at safety, and Harbaugh kind of like said he's always been a corner. Doesn't really mean anything again, but I would also probably assume that to be the case. I don't expect him to make a transition to safety at this point. I think you got the horses you got. You got to assume that Marcus Williams didn't completely forget how to play football, although apparently on that one play it looked like he did. And then just like, you got the cards you got at this point. I don't know if there's going to be much fixing it as far as like a better player emerging. I will say Ardarius is playing great. I think him filling in for Eddie is the move, so keep playing him and hope for the best.
Yeah, nothing else to add. I think you hit it all. I have tried my best to figure out what's going on with Marcus this year. I've shout out, as we do many times, Huddle It Up Films. Jason does a great job with those player cut-ups. I've looked back at the cut-ups he's done of Marcus Williams plays a lot this year and tried to compare what he did, in years prior with what's going on now. And I haven't been able to quite figure out what's going on. Now, I think part of the issue there, a lot of those plays that he highlights are, positive plays, right? So that's seeing, the what he's been able to do well. So it's a little harder to critique, is this something that's been a weakness in his game for a while and it's just getting exploited now? Is he getting used slightly differently? I don't want to say right now because I still, in the time that I have had to look into this, still don't have an answer. But I think that what still gives me hope about this team, as far as, them having the ability to win a Super Bowl, a lot of fans forget. The defense in 2012 was league average at best. I mean, that defense had an aging Ray Lewis who was really still just playing football just to get one more ring, an aging Ed Reed, a Terrell Suggs who had come off of an Achilles injury, who was a shell of himself, shouldn't have even been playing that year. And really, I mean, very, very average unit. And yet still the offense was good enough to be able to complement the defense and put them in situations where, they weren't going to lose the game, where they were still going to be able to do just enough. Because don't get me wrong, that defense did a lot of good that year too, but it wasn't a defense that we usually expect and associate with a Ravens defense, certainly not a championship winning Ravens defense. For that said, I think that year's defense was better than what we've seen right now. So, we still have a ways to go. But I guess my point there is I don't think with the way the offense is playing, we necessarily need to see this group become what it was last year, become like a 2006 Ravens defense, 2000 or 2011 Ravens defense. Just a league average defense could be enough. The steps might not be as big as we would generally need a Ravens defense to take for this unit. So we'll see what happens. And on to Pittsburgh, right? Tough divisional matchup there.
Yeah, I just point out, we touched on how Nnamdi had a big game, but Travis Jones looking healthier and playing really helped, I think, as well, open that up. And hopefully, that helps. I mean, when you're able to hit a QB 13 times, I know he dropped back 56 plus times probably, but it helps. It adds up, and I think that is a way to slow down a team as well, in a more indirect fashion. And yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the hard part about doing the podcast at this point. Of like this defense, I have no idea what to say about them because like they're not necessarily improving. They're making some changes on the margins, but it feels like the same story every time. And then like the offense, they cooking, and they're scoring points. Everything's looking good, and it's like, man, like how can I give some like cunning takes? But we're working on it. We're trying to figure out like what's new in the state of the Ravens. But you want to go on the MVPs?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, I feel like we haven't said his name in a while, but I'll say Matabike. If you want to lump Jones in there too, because I totally agree with you, Alec. I think the return of Jones, I think really helped open it up. You don't have to have Matabike, take on those double teams. I think he's way more effective if he can go, one-on-one against a guy. You can see how he can pressure guys real easy in that situation. So. He's one of the few bright spots I think on this defense, and I think it was a monster game from him. I think it's his best game I think in his career. So, great job.
I'm gonna give mine to. Yeah, it's funny. We're gonna have a majority of our MVPs from the defense. I mean, obviously Lamar is the overarching MVP, but all year Marlon Humphrey's been locked down. He's been one of the few bright spots of this defense, just playing an absolute incredibly high level. Made many great plays in this game, none more important than that punch out. And if they don't get that punch out there, I don't know if the Ravens have enough time to come back and win. Maybe they do. Maybe they would have been able to. But that was certainly the spark this team needed, and it led to the win.
Nice. I guess I'll hop over to the offense. I'll say Mark Andrews, like we mentioned, likely was out this game. First time having a huge target share, or not necessarily target share, but snap share after a season that's been kind of a ramp up for him. And he came back clutch. He owns Ohio, as everyone knows, even though he wasn't playing there. He's playing the Ohio team, and gotta give props to Mark Andrews. Just happy to see him perform. And I tell you, man, like I hope it's not his last year. I can't really deal with the reality of like Mark Andrews playing for another team. But it is a contract situation with him, and I guess we'll see you in the future. But I'm enjoying every moment of Mark Andrews, and I hope that he figures out a way to stay in Baltimore. All right, so now we're going to talk about the Steelers, and to do so, we have a friend of the show, Steve, on. Steve has joined us for some of those Steelers matchups at the bank, and I think we'll all be at his house watching the game. Always good to have a friendly rivalry with a good friend. And Steve, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on.
Hey, thanks. Happy to be here. Looking forward to having you guys over. It's going to be fun.
So tell us about the state of your team. What's going on over in the Steelers camp?
So I decided after yesterday, I'm definitely I'm one game away from really believing. I could tell a narrative of this season that makes it sound like it's a total smoke and mirrors. And I could tell a narrative that we're as good as our record. Maybe somewhere in between. Maybe a 9-8 7th seed. I don't know. But if they can, I mean, I think they always have a chance against the Ravens, and I think they're looking pretty good right now. So I think if they do win this game, and it seems like they've got a pretty good streak going against the Ravens, but I feel like before that it was like we would win here and you guys would win there, and so I feel like if they can win this game, I think I'll start to really believe. I think that a lot of the analysis I listen to is really, really impressed with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has not blown me away, but he's been solid, and we haven't had solid for a while. And he doesn't panic. It feels like he's under duress a lot, because as far as how's the state of the Steelers, I think one of the biggest things I'd say is that our offensive line is a disaster right now. So I felt like against Washington, like he was under duress on almost every play. And I felt like, and when I would watch the replays, I wasn't sure that I was seeing this, but when I watched it live, it felt like on every play, like it seemed like he was ducking and getting ready to get smashed, and then he kind of came out of it and found a receiver and got it away. But that didn't give me a lot of confidence in anything. Defense is looking really good. And the run defense has been really solid. Pass defense has been hit or miss at times, but with the pass rush being as good as it has, it's covered up some inconsistencies in the backfield.
Yeah, I think it is just absolutely incredible to see what Russell Wilson. I mean, it's a very small sample size, but man, I remember watching that game. Was it against the Jets, where it was the first game action he'd seen this year, and I went to bed thinking that Justin Fields was going to be named the starting quarterback once again, because I didn't stay up for that entire game, and then I checked my phone when I wake up and see that the Steelers had turned it around, and Russell Wilson actually had a decent game. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I think that for whatever reason, Russ and the Broncos were a bad fit, and maybe we're seeing that now. The Broncos are doing better without Russ, and Russ is doing better without the Broncos. It's very confusing. So, but yeah, I think what's great for you guys, I mean, you guys always have the defense. You always have the running game. You know, maybe the running game has been a little down by Steelers standards past couple of years, but Najee Harris might finally be coming along, it looks like.
Yeah.
You guys just need competent quarterback play to be what you guys are, which is a contender in the AFC North for the division title. And yeah, it's looking good there.
And if Russ is nothing else, he is a great match for George Pickens, because he has that, like, he throws deep, and not just that he throws deep, but he just throws that pretty arc, just a lot of air under it, and gives a lot of opportunity for Pickens to go make the contested catch, and that's worked out really well. So I feel optimistic. I'm not. It'll be really interesting to see where they go from here. But fortunately, that's not something that we're worried about right now. And Najee, I would say my biggest disappointment of the offseason was that they didn't pick up Najee's fifth-year option. I thought that was a mistake, and I was one of the few that seemed to think that. But 1,000 yards season 3 straight years is not nothing. And there were times where his yards per carry wasn't good. He looked like a bit of a plotter. He didn't look as explosive as Jalen Warren, but I think he's run hard. He's been dependable. He's I don't know if he's missed a game. And he just seems like a really good locker room guy, which I'm not sure that George Pickens is or not. Mercury. So, that will be another interesting question for the offseason, what they do about Najee Harris.
Man, you're talking right into Alex's favorite wheelhouse, talking about off-season decisions in mid-season.
Yeah.
I can't help
Yep.
myself.
Oh man, but
I know.
but yeah, Pickens is I think really interesting for this matchup. He is a guy that a lot of the Ravens fans, were interested in either the Ravens drafting back at that draft. And then he went to the Steelers, and so a lot of Ravens fans, of course, said that he sucks. He's never going to be good. But really come along this year. I mean, he's been making some big plays, and I would not put his playmaking ability on the same level as Jamar Chase. But I will say, obviously he had that big touchdown in the game in Pittsburgh last year that Kenny Pickett threw that ultimately won the game for you guys. And we just saw what a player like Jamar Chase did to this Ravens secondary. That's a matchup I'm very interested to see. How I'm sure the Steelers are going to look to test that and try and see if they can do some similar, exploit the Ravens secondary in similar ways the Bengals did with Chase. And at the same time, the Ravens are going to have a plan to not have the same result that happened on Thursday night.
And I think that Mike Williams himself is not going to be dramatic, but I am hopeful that he's going to, provide some more flexibility for Pickens, be able to let them move him around more and try doing some different stuff with him, because he's really been almost exclusively outside. And if they have Mike Williams take that role, the guy that's just going to run down the field and jump, and Pickens will still do that some, but for a lot, but then he'll have the opportunity to do other things as well. That could be a really positive development.
Has he been effective in those roles, Steve? Or because I feel like a lot of the highlights that I know I've seen of Pickens, like obviously really good 50-50 ball, kind of like go routes kind of thing. But like, has he been effective in like slants or maybe like more underneath stuff?
Occasionally, I think the if I remember, if I'm thinking of the right play, the one Peter mentioned against the Ravens, I think was one of them. Wasn't that a kind of crosser, medium length crosser that he just had a lot of yak on? Was that am I thinking about the right one?
I mean, he may have had a big play like that too. I'm pretty sure this is the one where he beat Humphrey on a vertical.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like a 50-yard pass. But I think what you're saying was another play that happened. If it wasn't that game, then it was the game later in the year, last week of the season.
I mean, yeah, he's not he was not Antonio Brown or anything, but I mean,
Right.
I think he's capable of more than just contested catches, and or maybe contested catches over other areas than just up the sideline. There've been moments where he's had caught some slants on the move and be able to gain some yards afterwards.
The rest of your receivers is kind of it's not a cast of necessarily new characters, but characters that haven't had the limelight either in Pittsburgh or elsewhere. So any comments you want to make about Van Jefferson or Calvin Austin or any of those guys, or the newly acquired Mike Williams?
Well, yeah, I was going to say probably the most telling thing I could say is that we're really glad to have Mike Williams on. I don't think any of those guys has stood out. They've all had their moments, but none of them have made any kind of consistent impression from game to game. Van Jefferson has one or two nice deep balls from Russell Wilson as well, and I don't know that he ever did much of anything with Fields. So again, just having another piece in Mike Williams, could guys like Van Jefferson able to make one or two big plays a game. That's all we need out of him. I'm not even sure that was happening, but average.
Yeah, switching gears to the defensive side of the ball, it's interesting. I'm just looking up the stats right now. You look at the very top of the team lead in total tackles. Who do we see? Former Ravens, Deshaun Elliott and Patrick Queen. What do you know? What a world we live in. Deshaun Elliott and Patrick Queen are on the Steelers, and Deontay Johnson is on the Ravens. But
yeah.
No one had that back in 2019. But anyways, yeah, I mean, when you look at this team, I mean, obviously, like we said at the offset, they're playing great football, very strong unit this year. What's really been clicking with them? I mean, who do you think are the standouts, and what has this team as a whole, really been thriving in?
The edge rushers are, where it starts and ends. I don't know that there's another team that's got a better pair, Watt and Highsmith, and so I don't think we're going to see Highsmith this week, which is unfortunate. Up his ankle I haven't heard anything definitive. I heard he was going in for an MRI today, and I haven't seen any news today. But it looked bad. But Preston Smith came along at the right time, and we've only seen a few snaps from him, but he looked pretty good. I hear that he's better against the run than the pass, but Nick Herbig is better against the pass than the run. So I believe Herbig, I don't know, he may have been back this past week. He hardly played. If he was, I can't remember if he was active or not, but he should be active this week. And before he got hurt, he was, to be honest, looking spectacular. I mean, like it wasn't just that they had two really outstanding edge rushers; they had three because Herbig was, he'd play 15 snaps and get 5 pressures or something. I'm making those numbers up, but like it just seemed like when he was on the field, he was in the backfield, and like to the point where it's like, boy, not that he's going to beat out Watt or Highsmith for a starting role, but how do we get all three of these guys on the field more or something? But so that's the strength of their defense. I think that this yesterday was Patrick Queen's best game as a Steeler, and he's had good games and he's had down games. I don't think know that he's had any that I would call like bad, but it hasn't been. He's been a solid addition to the defense, but I don't know that it's been the wow factor people would have hoped with highest paid free agent signing ever. And a lot of the enthusiasm is just the fact that he's coming from the Ravens, and I sure he'll be very up for this game. He's been good, and the defensive line has been solid for the most part. There was one or two. No, I guess it was the Colts game. The Colts game was a disaster against the run, and really uncharacteristic with the rest of the season how bad that one went. But the defensive backfield has been the weakest part of the defense. It's been very inconsistent. Joey Porter Jr. Has looked like a future All-Pro at times, and other times looked very, very beatable and ordinary. Yesterday was not a good game for him. He got beat a lot, got called for pass interference 2 or 3 times. That's been a recurring issue with Dante Jackson on the other side, kind of the same thing. Like he's had good games and bad games, and one thing that's improved for the defense this year is the nickel. So they've had Beanie Bishop Jr., a UDFA rookie, has done very well in that position, and now they've got Cam Sutton back from suspension this past week, and he got that big contract with the Lions, and kind of underperformed, and and then got in the legal trouble, and then was out for half a season. So it was a very open question, whether or not that was going to be a good football decision. Very small sample size, but it seems like he jumped right back in, and has earned, it's the right call to have him be the starter over a rookie who's played well, and so that has been for the last couple years since he left, has been a weak part of the defense, and now is when you got Mink on the team, it's hard to say it's the strongest part of the defensive backfield, but better than probably the rest of the cornerbacks have been.
That's a cool story about Beanie Bishop. I was just looking him up. He was the 39th ranked corner in the Beast by Dane Brugler. He wasn't even invited to the combine. Older prospect. Very cool that he's stepping up for you guys and playing well. I remember when you guys drafted her big. Cool too.
He's done well. First, my little trivia question: he was the first Steelers rookie to have 3 interceptions since Tony Dungy.
Oh wow!
Yep.
That's a good trivia.
That's good company. Yeah. Interesting that Joey Porter's having up and down season. I'm definitely interested to see how he stacks up against our wide receivers. And I mean, I think this defense is a big reason you guys are 7-1 against the Ravens in the last 4 years. So yeah, it's definitely you've got our number.
Haven't had a lot of opportunity to face Lamar, but when they have, it's gone well.
Yeah,
for us,
for
you guys. And watching how they did against Jaden Daniels, makes me hopeful for this week. It feels like they game planned him well. Although on the other hand, also it felt like Washington game planned to not push Daniels running at all. So there was almost no design. I would not expect that this Sunday.
Yeah, I think another thing. I mean, obviously, you guys have to face Lamar, like you said. The Steelers have done a better job than anyone in the NFL who's had to face Lamar multiple times as far as containing that attack. And I'm looking at your guys' history against Derrick Henry. What I'm seeing here from Stat News, you guys have faced him 3 times, and he has failed to clip 75 yards rushing in any matchup. So looks like you guys have been able to crack him as well in the matchups you guys have faced.
I remember the last one. They really had him, if I remember right, they really had him bottled up. He kind of did the typical Derrick Henry thing where he started to make some progress in the fourth quarter, but not the a lot of the late explosions that he's been known for. So they really continued to hold him in check for the most part through the end. And also I think the because they had, held him so well early. I think the Titans had to be throwing more, as I recall.
Yeah, that's a good point. We've never played you guys with Derrick Henry, obviously, but it does seem like you guys have had success with that and had success against the Ravens. So it's a combination that might not be enough. We'll have to see. Might be the first defense that really slows down this offense.
Hey, it'll be fun to watch. Man, I'm sure you guys have already done a lot of talking on here about last Thursday's game, but that performance by Lamar, amazing quarterback performances as far as his running anyway was unreal.
Yeah.
Okay, he's gonna get sacked here. No.
Honestly, Steve, I think it's the most
runs for
valuable part
15
he
or 20
adds
yards.
now with his legs is that
What's that?
I think that's the most valuable thing he adds now is his ability to run out of pressures and
Uh-huh.
make something out of nothing and all that. Like we don't do that many design runs with Lamar anymore. We're like
Yeah.
almost all of his rushing yards are scrambles.
Yeah. I guess there's a lot less of the option stuff that read options used to see all the time.
Yeah, it's definitely less, but it's not gone from his game. It's just less. Yeah.
And the scrambles, like when he's scrambling, he'll throw it too, and it's not just uh, not Justin Fields. It's not like what once he's off schedule, he's going to be running for sure.
Yeah, and in fact, he's always looking to create. That's the other thing that's kind of crazy too. 2 weeks ago, he was able to draw 2 holding penalties in the secondary while he was scrambling. I guess it's a question actually about your defense. Are they? Do you feel like they're disproportionately getting penalties or relatively clean?
I think, like I said, I feel like Joey Porter Jr. has gotten more than his share. Other than that, I feel like it's been,
Yeah.
like any Steelers fan, I'm going to complain a lot about how little holding is called against Watt, um, but as far as the penalties we've got, been pretty solid.
That's what I would expect. You guys are so disciplined. It's my number one thing I can say is you guys are always you don't shoot yourself in the foot often.
On offense, like I said, our the most concerning part of the roster right now is the offensive line. They just got Frazier back and at center, and he's looked great. He's the probably the one part of the offensive line that has really looked solid all year. They started off the year with Sayamalo, the left guard, injured, and then about the time he came back, Chase Daniels, the right guard, got injured. And but Broderick Jones has been really disappointing. He is he's given up some big sacks, and he's gotten called for a lot of holding penalties and face mask penalties. He had a touchdown to Pickens last week called back by really unnecessary holding penalty. Another, I can't remember if it was also a touchdown, but another face mask penalty. He's really gotten called for a lot, and it's hard to say, like the as good of a job as the Steelers have done over the years, with drafting and developing centers. The rest of the line, they've really been weird about how it seems like they've been pretty careless about playing people out of position that they're used to. And so, so Broderick Jones, was considered one of the best left tackles in the country coming out of college, and they played him at right tackle because Dan Jones or Daniel Moore, who'd been fine. Dan Moore Jr. was fine at left tackle. Was not going to play well at all at right tackle, and so they put Broderick Jones on the right, and because they knew that Dan Moore couldn't do it, and so during his rookie year it went okay. It wasn't he didn't blow the doors off or anything, but he wasn't a disaster there either. And then they drafted Fotano, and my understanding was the plan that Fotano, again, left tackle, and my understanding was the plan that he was going to be the right tackle now, again switching sides, and then they were going to put Broderick Jones on the left. Well, Fotano goes down with an injury, for season-ending injury, and now they're like back to last year. Well, I guess we got to put Broderick Jones on the right, and that's gone really badly. But Broderick Jones, that's one of several instances of linemen over the past few years that they've played a different position than they did in college, and it hasn't gone great for them. Fotano was looking pretty awesome during preseason, and it's disappointing to lose him. And then Chase Daniels is out for the season, so mine is banged up, and outside of Frazier, kind of suspect. So that's I don't know, if it has the Ravens pass rush been as formidable this year as in past years? Because that's concerning for coming game.
Yeah, it's been a little inconsistent, I'd say. I think really strong at the beginning of the season, kind of tapered off, and now I think it's particularly, with having 13 quarterback hits against Burrow in the Thursday night game. Again, like we said, he dropped back to about 67 times, but still, it's. I think in the past two games, it's come back a little bit more online, and they're still ranking very high in the league as far as total sacks for the year. Very recently, they were second, but I think they may have fallen a little bit since then. Yeah, I think that they've got the talent, and they've gone through a little bit of a cold spell, but I think they're on the rise now.
Yeah. Just to go back to Faltanu, I thought that when you guys got him, it was going to be a classic, steal by the Steelers. Yeah, he dropped in the draft due to concerns about his knee, and then of course he injured his knee. I don't know if it's the same knee, but it's a knee, and because he was a top tackle. We thought he could go top 10, easily. And then from to get to 18, that's a big swing for, again, a left tackle, top prospect kind of thing, which apparently you guys want to just shift over to the right, which is fine. He could play fine at right tackle. He had more of that versatility. But anyways, I just it's sad to hear that, but at the same time, it's good to hear that Frazier's playing well. I remember hearing that he was a phenomenal prospect at center, and like the only reason that he wasn't on the Ravens board is because we have a center, and didn't really have the guard prospects per se.
Want to go on to predictions and MVPs?
Sure. As guest, Steve, you can go first.
Let's see. So bold prediction, huh? it feels kind of uncreative, but I think my bold prediction is going to be around George Pickens. I think he's going to have a big game. He's had a good season and he's had some impressive stat lines, but he's also like had a lot of opportunities where it could have been more, where he's had a couple of touchdowns called back and a couple near misses. And I think this could be, like opportunity where things really come together and he has a big, truly big explosion kind of game. So if I'm going to be bold about it, I'll say at least 6 for 140 and a touchdown.
Sheesh. Nice.
Jamar Chase light numbers there.
Yeah.
What about the score? They're favored. The Ravens are favored by 3.
Yeah.
47.5.
Yeah. Oh man. I think if it's high scoring, I think the Ravens are going to win. I think I think the Steelers' best hope would be to slow it down and try to play clock management and ball control and make it a rock fight. I don't think it's going to be a rock fight though. So I'm gonna go with Ravens to beat the spread. I'm gonna say 31-27. How about you guys? What are you?
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in next. My bold prediction, I guess, kind of ties into what we were just talking about. Even before Steve brought up the pass rush, like I said, I liked what I saw against Cincinnati. I'm going to put the Ravens down for double the sacks they got against Cincinnati. I'll put them down for 6.
Ooh.
Wow.
And
I can see it.
Then, I'm really torn on what to pick for this game. I was originally going to pick the Steelers, but I mean, I'm just looking back here at this history between the Steelers and Ravens, and it's been a while since the Ravens. Gosh, I think that you guys have won 7 out of the last 8 or something.
Yeah,
very
4 in a row for sure. And
yeah,
how long can that last?
Exactly. Yeah. So since 2019, the Ravens won the second one on December 11th, 2022. And even that one, 16-14. Wasn't that? Yeah, that was a very close game, if I remember.
Wasn't that the RG3 game?
No, that wasn't the RG3 game. We did lose. The Ravens did lose that game. Yeah, this was. I think this is a Mitch Trubisky start, if I'm not mistaken.
Ugh.
All right, yeah, he got a concussion this game. Yeah, he got a concussion, and then Pickett had to come in.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe it was the other way around.
Oh,
Sheesh,
no,
I should
lost
have
so much. Yeah.
I should have researched this game before.
No.
This was the game. Pickett got hurt immediately at the beginning of the game, and Trubisky came in.
Okay, yeah.
Through 3 picks, 2 of which I'm pretty sure Marcus Williams had. A guy who we're looking for picks to come from again would be nice. But yeah, I'm looking at this, and I think the Ravens are looking at that, and they already have one loss in the division that they honestly. It was a game they should have won. I mean, you got to credit the Browns with what they did, but on paper, the Ravens are better. So I'm not overly confident about it, but I'm going to pick the Ravens to win by 3, 20-17. Although, really, it wouldn't shock me if either team pulled out of this one with the win.
You want to go, Chris?
Sure, that's fine. Bold prediction. I feel like I'm looking at the game last year in October where everyone had the dropsies. And I feel like a good bold prediction would be picking somebody to go off this game. But I'm deciding whether it's going to be Zay or whether I think it's going to be a DJ revenge game. I'm I think in my head, I think I want it to be a Zay game because I'm not. I feel like my bold prediction last week with Keaton getting 50 yards, he got a goose egg. So I don't know if I want to give it to people coming off the bench. I think I'm going to stick with who I know. So I'm going to say Zay has a big game. I'm going to say he ends up with 100 yards and I'll say a pair of touchdowns. I'll do that. As far as score prediction, despite having 2 touchdowns, I do also think it's probably going to be somewhat low scoring. Just because the Ravens have had just such trouble with Steelers. I guess I'll go 20. Yeah, like honestly, like 22-18. I'll do a Price is Right on you, Peter.
There you go. I like it.
like I don't know, maybe Tuck misses an extra point, and
and kicks
I
a
don't know.
65-yard
Steelers end up with 18.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That'll be very 2024 Tucker.
One thing we forgot to ask you, Steve. Do you guys feel like this is a must-win? Is that even a chatter right now in the because you guys have all of your AFC games to come. You have the Chiefs and you have the Eagles, if I recall correctly.
You got a tough road ahead.
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard people calling this a must-win game. Margin for error at this point. The Browns are not looking formidable, and
The Bengals and the Chiefs.
maybe none. I think none. Just the so. Yeah, I don't. I haven't felt like there's like incredible pressure. I might have been more so if we had ended up losing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think it's a must-win game for either team. I am going to go on the side of the Ravens winning by a little bit bigger margins for no other reason than it correlates with my bold prediction. So yeah, you have to have some correlation. So I'm going to say the Ravens win 27-17, and they get there by 2 interceptions by the Ravens defense, making Russ look a little bit more like his Broncos self. I find the Pickens matchup terrifying. I think any Ravens fan should find any, contested ball player against Stevens a problem. I mean, they just kept moving Chase over if they needed something. And I'd also say, historically, you guys have slowed down this offense a ton. I have said the Ravens should be scoring 30 points or plus a game every game from here on out because of how well the offense is playing, and I'm not going to even get them that in this matchup just because of respect for your guys' defense. I can see how this one goes sideways very easily because I've seen it 7 times in the last 4 years, so that's all I've got.
So it just occurred to me, like that we've gone 45 minutes now without the name Deontay Johnson coming up.
It's because we might go 45 minutes of game time before we see him do anything.
I was going to say,
yeah. It's interesting. It's
game.
Yeah.
He ran 3 routes and got targeted on 2 of them last game. So like when they put him in, it's going his way so far.
Yeah, he's it'll there are there are players that it would break my heart to see them go to the Ravens, and then there are others that I could care less, and Deontay's maybe somewhere in the middle, like good for him. He's not on the Panthers anymore.
Yeah, 5 snaps, 3 routes run, 2 catches. But the first game he had a lot more snaps. So, I mean, who knows, man?
Yeah.
It's
still too early, I think, to see if he's gonna have a bigger role. I mean, just got traded there and had 2 games in 4 days, right?
Yeah, seriously, right? Good call out there. So
5 days, whichever.
It'll be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to having you guys over. And
yeah, it should be great.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it as well, Steve. Thanks for coming on and giving us all your insight on this team. Definitely, we wouldn't have been talking about Beanie Bishop without you, so I appreciate that. That was cool. And with that, we'll wrap up the show. You can find us on Twitter at OneWinPod, Threads at OneWinPod. I've been thinking about making us a Blue Sky account. It seems like the new hotness. Maybe we'll do some of that. And Mastodon's never going to catch on. I'm committed to that at this point, so... yeah, and then of course on YouTube at OneWinPod. You can leave a comment there. Email us onewinpod@gmail.com. The medium that will never die email. And we'll be back after hopefully our Ravens win. And until then, go Ravens.